it. Good morning.
We're here. You made it. We made it. We're live. We're in person. We have just a beautiful day outside.
It's hot. Timmy,
It's November in Florida.
Yeah, the high is 87 degrees today. I saw.
I'm fine with that.
That sounds toasty.
I'm fine
It's not
with that.
quite sweater weather.
But Andrew, I'm feeling great today. I don't know if it's the extra sleep or just had a good morning. I don't know. Maybe did you get the extra hour?
I
you
did.
Lock that in?
I got the extra hour, and then last night when I would typically be up and good to go, I was like, why am I so tired? And it was because in my body I haven't registered the time change. But
CJ
that's okay.
says, ooh, fancy mic stickers. They're not even stickers.
First of all, CJ, they're magnets.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
And second of all, yesterday was Sunday.
And this is the morning after.
Welcome to the Morning After Ministry Show, a caffeine-fueled look back on the week and ministry that was.
Speaking of brushing hair,
What?
Timmy,
We're back.
I took all of my boys to get haircuts yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And because I know how you feel about the barbershop, you only have one son. I have 8,000.
It's hard. That's tough.
And we were trying
I'm
to...
a big fan of barbershops.
We were trying
yes.
to get it done as quickly as possible, so I took them to Sport Clips. And I was trying to...
That's not that much cheaper.
It's not at all cheaper, but there's a lot of people cutting there. My barbershop has
I see.
one guy and then an Eastern European fellow who might
Sure.
be there assisting, which is
Sure.
sketchy at best.
Yeah.
Tim, what would you like to guess was the price after tip for 4 boys' haircuts? 9, 11, 13, and 14.
I mean, I know had it been my barber, it would have been about $75 total for all the cuts together because I get that pastor's discount.
I was going to say, man, must be nice.
I'm just telling you, I've known the guy for a long time. He gives me a sweet deal. He would cut my son's hair for half the price of mine. And
Well, Sport Clips does not.
what'd you end up paying?
It was $130 after tip.
Ooh.
Fortunately, my kids don't have the same male pattern baldness that I do, and so they don't have to get haircuts as often as I do. They don't have the widow peak situation. But
They also
Timmy,
don't have to take the same pills you take.
They don't. But someday they might. Someday they might. Although
It does run in the genes.
their maternal grandfather has a very full and thick head of hair, so maybe they'll be okay.
Maybe.
Maybe. I hope so.
When was the haircut day?
For me?
Yeah, for the boys.
For the boys was yesterday, which was Sunday.
This is the morning after.
It was so because there was no Bucks game. We went.
There
to,
is a Bucks game. It's tonight.
It's tonight. There was no Bucks game yesterday, so we went to the mall after church, and I sent you that picture of the Santa Claus. Do you remember the time that was going to be our first ever family activity? It was, I believe, Christmas of 2011. We had just become buddies, and our wives were going to hang out for the first time.
out.
We each had, I think, 2 little kids at the time.
Yep, that's why we had a 4-seater. We could get away with it.
We were going to have our first family activity, and
It's going to be awesome.
you guys got in an accident in the International Mall parking lot.
Here's what happened, Andrew. We were looking for a parking spot, and we were about to pull into one. I looked up. It was a one-wayer. Someone kicked it into reverse to get to the parking spot we were at.
Yeah.
Didn't see us behind them, and just full speed plowed into us.
Was that the end of the Honda Element for you guys?
Yeah.
What a cool car that was.
I think it was totaled out after. It was such a cool car. Would not fit the family now.
No, it would not make sense for a family of 7.
Not so
But
much.
let's be real, not many vehicles make sense for a family
Did
of
that
7.
pop up on your memories? Is that why you sent that to me?
No,
Was it on this? Was it on
I
this
was
day?
at the mall, and they
right.
so they've got the Santa station set up.
Yep.
But they did not have Santa there. Also,
CJ says a little shaving cream, razor, way cheaper. I guess if you're gonna
yeah.
shave
Listen,
their heads.
my kids need all the help they can get. They need professionals. Tim, we were in this very office yesterday after church. We eat
Sunday.
Yes, it was Sunday.
Wait, you eat in here?
No, well, my kids, so they know they had to be in the fellowship hall socializing for a little bit, but then they're allowed to come into here and
This is where they skip church?
this is where they skip the fellowship hall time after church.
Understood.
And so this is...
But they eat something.
They eat a little bit, and then they come in here and they hang out.
Yeah, I get that.
And my iPad was in here. The kids don't have Safari on their iPad.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
The youngest 2 got a hold of Google,
Oh, no.
and they asked if Santa was real.
I sure hope Google told them the truth. That, of course, if you believe hard enough.
That's not what Google said. So the whole trip to the mall was
Oh no.
What? My kids are Googling facts about Santa, and then you have the
This is
older boys
devastating.
who are trying way too hard to convince their little brothers that, of course, Santa is real.
I'm just glad the older boys didn't grab Safari.
The older boys know the truth, and they were trying to convince their brothers of the collective lie, and I kept trying to change the subject. I was allowing a lot of
tragic.
jokes about the sporting goods store that we were going to at the International Mall and the size
Richards.
of it. It's the world's largest.
World's largest Richards sporting goods.
And I was allowing them to make those jokes so that we could change the subject off of Santa.
Boys love those jokes.
They do. Do you know who doesn't love those jokes?
Wives.
My wife. My wife. I don't know that we could get her to go back to that mall.
Andrew, speaking of wives, we've got a special guest with us. She's not mic'd up. She's here on assignment. Our kids' school schedule got flipped around thanks to a certain presidential election tomorrow.
I've heard about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Stephanie Miller to the office. There's the Stephanie cam. And
She's
there's Stephanie
Thrilled
Miller.
to be here.
She looks amazing, looking great. She's here. She's in studio.
Yeah, live studio audience.
So if you're in town, we have a camera set up for you. You want to come? You want to sit on a taping? Can we call it that?
We should get an audience mic just for the laugh track, like in old sitcoms.
That would be great.
We'd have to say funny things sometimes.
We're not
but
that funny.
It would be good. We could make it happen. Tim, yesterday
Was Sunday.
And as I am sitting at the light checking my phone before I get into Main Street, I am seeing Lakeview's stories. Why did you get to church so early?
I didn't.
Okay, that
So
wasn't you. The picture at like
Carlos,
5 a.m.
Our homeboy who sets up each and every week, he's decided it's his workout routine. So he likes to get there around 5, set it up, then go home and get his family. So
Okay.
he gets there, sets the whole thing up. He doesn't always take photos like that. He's also our photographer. So he decided, I'm going to set up and I'm going to take the 5 a.m. photos.
What setup is he doing?
The tent, the tables.
Oh, okay.
Our entire courtyard
Yeah,
setup
gotcha.
is basically like a mini tear down,
Yeah.
setup
So you
every
have a
week.
church plant meeting in your courtyard.
That's what I'm saying. Like think mini church plant, but it's in the courtyard because that's our fellowship
Yeah.
hall right now. That's our foyer. That's our in between services you want to hang out. That's kind of the spot
Gotcha.
for you. So we've just turned that into a spot to hang out, and people gather.
People hang out.
They hang.
Have you
frolic.
considered putting a TV out there
We have.
for overflowage?
Yep. And then basically a TV on wheels.
Yeah,
Just wheel it out.
We've got 2 of them here. They work great.
I mean, it would make a whole lot of sense.
And with-
we've discussed it.
You just
Christmas Eve will probably happen because we're only doing 2 services.
you could pull up YouTube that way.
easy.
Now, there's I think like a 30-ish second delay on
There is.
YouTube.
There is. So you'd be a bit behind, but it'd still be something.
Yeah.
And if you're out there, at least you'd know.
I'm trying to
Service is
think
long.
if you could run a direct line to it, because that way on Christmas Eve, how cool would it be if you switched to the outside camera? You could have a fire pit going out there.
Oh, that would be tasty.
People
That would be sweet.
see we
Bree,
can't we can't do
Polis,
that because
Steph may be the best part of the show.
That's
We're
hurtful.
back on the Stephanie cam
That is-
with Bree's comment right there.
we spend hours researching. We text back and forth all week about what needs to be discussed on this show.
And now Stephanie is the best part of the show. Brian Polis, we're going to chat more at staff meeting, but I need to know more about these hockey sweaters you and your husband were wearing in the photos you posted today, which were glorious, by the way. Big hockey family. I only know one hockey team. We're growing up in Jacksonville, then moving here, like the Lightning. That's all I know. I don't really know much outside of that.
I mean, but didn't you
New
grow
Yorkers,
up-
New Yorkers have a very different upbringing
do.
when it comes to hockey.
But didn't you grow up watching the Mighty Ducks every chance you got?
That's my only hockey team. You're right. You're right.
Listen,
That's my
I
only
saw
team.
a post the other day that said the Mighty Ducks came out 32 years ago this month. For some context, watching the Mighty Ducks in 2024 is like watching a movie from 1960 when the Mighty Ducks came out.
Why would
and
you say
then
that
I
out loud?
broke my phone because it made me so angry.
Why say that?
I don't know. But also, what's
It's
with
hurtful.
Okay, but Charlie was Spazway. He was the worst
Yeah,
player on the team in the first one, and then by the third one, he's the captain. And
He's practicing.
I guess,
He's not giving up.
but as a dad of
Putting in the work.
kids that don't have a lot of innate athletic ability, that doesn't just show up. Doesn't matter how passionate you are. Darren Ravel, one of my favorite sports media personalities,
Sure.
he says that he is where he is in his career because all of his friends realized, too late that they weren't going to be the pro athletes, and he realized in middle school that if he wanted to be involved in sports, he needed to do it from a different angle. And Charlie Conway probably should have been a broadcaster, not a player. But now he's whatever that doctor on the cruise ship.
There is an innate athletic ability that's needed.
Yeah.
I think once you get to the middle school, especially the high school level.
Yeah, I get it.
But there are those Rudy stories that, man, these guys that put in the work.
Yes, there is a difference between skill and talent. Yeah. Skills are built, talents you're born with, and you can always sharpen a skill.
You can,
but you can't make this.
That's true.
A D1 athlete, no matter what you try.
My son was at the awards ceremony last night for his football team. He was named one of the captains heading into the playoffs. So
how does that make you feel?
They gave him the C patch to put on the jersey. That's a big deal. I never got that.
Is it an iron-on? Is it a stitch-on?
Stick stitch. It's got a sticky part. Yeah. So,
I mean, that's exciting. Why isn't your son running cross country? Because I'm going to be with North Bay at CCA today for a cross country meet. If my kid is running cross country, your kid has no excuse not to be.
Football. He's got practice tonight.
Oh, he doesn't need conditioning?
No, they condition.
You run for 18 minutes.
Will you guys do track and field?
The school does. I don't know if Landon will. He is...
Runners are built different.
He is a kid who thrives in hey, this is a team sport, but it's something I do by myself.
Yeah.
That's a good thing for him.
Nothing wrong with that.
Timmy, let's get into it.
Let's roll.
So you didn't get to church at 5:30 in the morning, but it was a different kind of Sunday for you.
I didn't get there at 5:30. I got there at my usual time, but I had a guest preacher. We also had several guests in service yesterday. I told you about this. We were bringing in Charles DeMarco from New Life Solutions, who when you're the president of a good size organization, chances are you have really good public communication skills.
Yeah.
So he was dynamite on stage with a microphone in his hand. He was able to hold the audience well. It was awesome. He did a great job. I also asked him to lead a prayer over Lakeview, over the nation. He was perfect for that ahead of the elections tomorrow. So we had him.
Wait, that's tomorrow?
We had him on Sunday. Then I set up our guest preacher, who was one of our elders, Bob Leffler, by letting everyone know originally I wasn't supposed to be here. This sermon was supposed to be last week on my birthday. I was going to go see a Jaguars game. I decided my team sucks. I'm not going. That got a good laugh, by the way. I told Bob, I'm just going to preach anyways. And then Bob responded, actually, Tim, I've been researching the text. It's more appropriate if you don't preach this one. It's directed at the leadership of the church, and I think it'd be better coming from an elder and not the lead pastor. I thought that was a really cool idea. I'm like, I haven't heard that. I submitted to that authority and said, go for it. And I will tell our people this on Sunday. I think it was the best sermon I've heard preached at Lakeview, my sermons included, in I don't know how long. It was a phenomenal sermon, direct to the point.
I'm going to tell your dad you said that.
Outside of Frank, Stephanie says. Outside of Frank's killer sermon back in August, which was, we didn't post it online because his church didn't know yet. There was a whole lot of reasons. We should share that sermon.
Frank is preaching here the 2 weeks that I'm gone in November.
Good luck.
He's got a 2-weeker.
You're gonna have to follow 2 weeks of Frank.
So here's the thing.
How are you gonna do that?
Advent. We'll sing "Oh Holy Night." It'll be fine.
As long as you don't have to actually preach after that.
But
he's a better preacher than us.
I had someone when we were in someone's house after all the storms, and they were asking about me being gone and what it was going to look like. And it was, I love the different ministries that we support and the different people that come in. But, the people, there was a specific person who was not used to preaching a lot, more
Pete, we will
small
share
group leaders, more of a small group leader who's part of a ministry that we support, who they were referencing him specifically saying, you're not going to have him come and preach for you again. And I was just so excited to say, you will really enjoy who's preaching when I'm gone.
You're not going to want to miss this. CJ says, my 7-year-old daughter threw up in the middle of the basketball court a couple of years ago. Now she has no desire to play sports at all. A waste of a 7-year-old, the height of a 10-year-old. I'm so sorry, CJ. Vomit will do that to you.
Listen.
It's not pleasant.
Sometimes.
It's not pleasant. Stephanie, do you agree?
CJ, get in here.
Stephanie says, and look, I pinned that comment to this particular scene, so every time it shows Stephanie, it just says Steph is the best part of the show.
All right, back to me, because I got to talk directly to CJ. CJ, listen, I've got a kid who is not interested in athletics.
What?
He is not an athlete, and yet he is considering at least one more sport this year. Why? It's called bribery. Bribery.
I turned on studio light, Stephanie, so you look even better now. You
Look at that.
Look at the lighting there. Studio lighting.
You could be watching the show on your phone.
That's true.
You could be, adding to our viewership, but whatever. CJ, my kid gets $50 per sport that he plays, and then once we're in that sport, we set incentives. So for soccer, when it was clear that the goals weren't going to happen,
They can't have Frank. Don't worry, Bree.
it was, listen, every time you were touching the ball on purpose, every time it's going where you want it to go, Dad's keeping track, and Dad was coaching, so that made it easier.
That helps.
With cross country, it's the set price per sport that he's making.
Sure.
But then it is $5 per kid on our team that he finishes in front of. So there's 6 boys on the middle school cross country team, and he could legitimately probably beat 3 of them if he tried really hard.
I love it.
And the past 2 races, he's running with his buddy, and he doesn't want to beat his buddy, and so he lets him finish a few steps ahead of him. I'm like, dude,
That's not how this works.
costing you money.
That's not how this works.
This is a race.
Yes.
But yeah, just bribe your kids. It's way easier than them having a natural desire to do something.
Andrew, even though I didn't preach yesterday, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I was still at all 3 services. I still had on-stage responsibilities because I set up our missions moment, which was Charles Marco. I set up our guest preacher, who was Bob. I also did communion at all 3 services and the benediction. So after church on Sunday, I don't know that I was any less tired, which is weird to me. Like I didn't, do a 25 to 30 minute sermon.
Being at church when you're not preaching is just about the most exhausting thing that you can do.
And I also felt this guilt of I can talk to people in between services as long as I want. I don't have to preach the next service. So I did, and so maybe I exhausted a little bit more emotional energy.
The social and emotional battery got drained.
And then in the back of my head, I was thinking, oh no, there's membership class tonight, which was last night.
So did you go home for a little bit first?
We went out to lunch. My kids had a student hangs. Todd had a youth group event after church. So we went out to lunch, came back, picked up the kids, got home at about 3, rested for maybe an hour. I got a workout in because
You're Tim.
I'm Tim, and was back at the church by 5:45, ready for a membership class at 6, which was very well
Wait,
attended.
you showed up 15 minutes early to something?
And here's the funny thing about that, Andrew. Normally I would be 30 minutes early, but my son had an awards banquet and I didn't want to be late. 15 minutes early felt late to me. I had a staff member already there setting up, and I thought, oof, I like to be the first one here. I don't know how you feel about meetings, whether it's an elder meeting or any sort of meeting. I'll give you one quick example of where I goofed early on in ministry. And my lead pastor actually set me aside and had one of maybe 3 very firm conversations that I'd ever had with him in my entire 9 years with him. It didn't help that one of his daughters was in the youth group at the time. We had a car wash camp fundraiser. Heard of them?
I'm familiar, yeah.
Started at about 10 a.m. I got there at about 10:05.
That's an issue, Tim.
It was my very first year in youth ministry, so 2010 would have been the year. I just thought, not a big deal. There's some leaders there. We'll get it going, set up. Well, they didn't show up early. I was the first adult in charge there with parents sitting there waiting on me,
to leave because they had Saturday after or morning
including
activities.
my lead pastor.
That's a problem.
Kind of giving me that look. So what he did, he didn't get on to me on Saturday. He waited till Monday, sat me down in the office and said, Tim, I would encourage you to practice the 15 to 20 minute rule, meaning you are always there 15 to 20 minutes before your first volunteer shows up. And I can honestly say that without, maybe there's an exception of something extreme like traffic or an accident or an emergency. For the most part,
or a Jags game.
Well, I have that on my phone. For the most part, I have followed that rule for the last 14 and a half years in ministry at Lakeview Church. So I try to arrive about 20 minutes before. That's usually early.
If there's an event that you're leading or
and sometimes it's way before that.
Because sometimes there's a volunteer that's like, hey, I've got set up on this.
Yeah, and that's fine. But for membership class, I'm normally there an hour early. Just to be there. I want the room set. I want the music going. I want the environment good. I want the AC down. There's a lot of things that I want set.
But you can do that from your phone too.
I know, but you know how it is.
I do.
There's just things that I want in place for certain events. So I don't know. What's your typical rule of thumb? Now, for an elders meeting, 10, 15 minutes early, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not setting anything up
for an elders meeting. I usually am at the table before anybody else gets there.
Yep,
So
I
whatever
prefer that.
I'm printing out it's there and spread out. membership class, it just kind of depends. Sometimes we do ours Sunday, sometimes we do ours on Saturday.
Right.
We actually, when you were talking about your membership class, we had to cancel our membership class. It was supposed to be yesterday. No,
Sunday.
It was supposed to be Saturday. And with the back-to-back hurricanes, we had not publicized it enough. We lost a Sunday pretty much because of that.
Yep,
and it was do you know what? Instead of trying to do this halfway, let's punt until January. But with that one, it depends on if we're doing the Sunday afternoon pizza new members class or the Saturday morning breakfast.
Now, what do you prefer? Do you like the one fell swoop, all of it done on Sunday, right into membership class, or do you prefer 2 separate days?
I think I prefer it on Saturday.
Yeah.
I think we have a little bit more bandwidth. I think no one has to go home because they've got work in the morning.
Right.
So I think that makes it a little bit easier. I think Saturday is just a little bit more relaxed.
We have tried a variety of options, including a Sunday after church. That was the worst idea. In my head,
I needed an IV thinking about that.
in my head, it was like, it'll be fine. It'll basically let me preaching 3 services because we were at 2 services at the time. So I went service, membership class. And I remember telling the staff at staff meeting that week, please don't ever let me do that again.
Not doing that.
I've never been. That was like Easter level tired, which, as you know, is once a year.
Yeah. That sounds terrible.
It was not good.
Timmy, I had another question, and I kid you not. We were serving communion yesterday. And
First Sunday of the month.
First Sunday of the month.
Are you guys back to intinction?
No, we will never go back to intinction.
Do you miss it?
No.
Do you miss the sneezing and the coughing and the dipping?
I miss nothing. What we do is we have the little Jesus shot glasses that we grew up with, but
Jesus juice.
We also have bread in those as well. So we have, because that way
Wafers?
No, we actually have cut up
Jesus
bread.
chiclets?
We have cut up bread, not the weird crunchy.
Ours are circles, but I miss the chiclets.
The chiclets that they keep in the freezer to keep them extra fresh.
And there was a little air pocket in there, and you could kind of just like...
No, we actually cut up bread, but we put the bread in the little Jesus shot glasses so that people are not touching.
That's prep work.
Yeah, it is prep work. We have a couple of people that come in and set it up.
Proud of you.
And so all of our communion trays...
Are you out of frame?
Me? Yeah, I could scoot closer to you.
That's better.
All of our communion trays are the ones with the little circle in it that keeps the glass. But that was kind of our compromise post-COVID, is we still don't want to be touching each other's food, or we don't want germs that way. And so we put them all in the little cups. And as I was serving communion, the first group up is always a mom who's there with 3 kids. And I thought, number one,
classic.
We haven't talked about, are you serving communion to kids at Lakeview? That hasn't been a conversation that we've had.
Yeah.
And 2, are you guys still using the prepackaged gross stuff?
Heck yeah. Yep. City Lights Church says, sorry I'm late. Did I miss anything good? City Lights, we're covering communion
just
details.
Getting into communion right now.
So if you're looking for a good church in the Scranton, PA
Electric City
area, I don't know how they do communion. City Lights Church, are you guys in Tinkting? Do you have the Jesus chiclets? Or is it prepackaged? At Lakeview, we are still using the prepackaged stuff. You get it on the way in, you throw it away on the way out. It's very simple. There's no lines.
I get that.
Now, as far as kids in the room, we leave that up to parents.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am.
And I'm okay with that. If the parent feels that child is ready to take communion, great. If not, that's fine too.
I had an interim pastor who I worked with when Dave retired, and so this was just like a couple month thing that he was there.
Yeah.
And he was like, one hill I will die on is I will never serve communion to a child.
What?
And I was like,
of all the hills,
that's what I was like.
It's a very
really?
small hill.
That is a very weird thing.
It's like an uninhabited anthill.
That is a weird thing to draw a line in the sand. He's like, talks about the people who died for taking communion in an unworthy manner. I was like, I don't think that was about kids.
That's not what that is.
I don't think that's what that was. And it just was so weird.
You should have had him read the book of Galatians.
I know, but I was
just
like,
for funsies.
But also, he was like super Presbyterian, like incredibly reformed. So I was like, wait, so you are saying that this child is immediately entering a covenant relationship among God's people?
All right, here we go.
But they can't take
If
communion?
you are
It was
real,
so odd to me.
You need communion every week. We've got the church for you. City Lights Church, communion every single week. Bread and wine dipped. We call that intinction.
And disgusting.
Or the crackers and juice packets if you don't want wine. So they have the option if you want to remain somewhat sanitary. City Lights Church has it covered.
Yeah, what if you would like a lot of wine, but like sitting in the back of the room during church?
They have that too. City
Okay.
Lights Church. They're passing out free wine every Sunday.
There you go.
What a great church to be.
So speaking of Scranton, PA, Timmy, I've been doing a lot of grading of papers these days,
Professor Larson, that is.
and I've found that the way to keep me on task is to put on episodes of The Office, and Peacock has
The Electric City.
the whatever, like the super fan extended cut episodes.
Yeah, we've gone through some of that.
They're weird.
They're weird.
There's-
We haven't done the
boy.
latest season.
They had a good editor on that show.
Yeah.
Because I was watching the basketball episode last night, and it was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's an episode of, I've probably seen it 15 times in
And
my
all
life.
the superfan episodes are a beat too long.
Yes.
Like they just have
Yes.
that, like this should have been shorter. And
maybe
rightfully
that's
so.
why they were.
Yep.
But man,
Yep.
it's because it's on in the background, so I can be doing my work. But it's
Steph's
just
got her
something-
Diet Coke
it's
cut over
something going.
the Steph cam just in time.
But it makes me feel weird.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I totally agree. All right, so we had guest preacher, we had membership class. You guys
We
are
had
continuing the
me
series.
preacher. We were continuing our Turning Points series, talking about.
It's like topical, but it's not.
It's not. It's topical, but it's here's a 17 verse
Yeah.
passage that we're going through.
Yeah.
And to me, it was. I copied and pasted the exegesis from a sermon from 7 years ago.
Now, for the record, this is a sermon you preached 7
Yes.
years
So
ago.
the intro was different. The conclusion and application was different.
I don't have any problem with
But
that.
the middle part was the same. And
I don't
Tim,
have any problem with that.
no one came up to me and said, Pastor Andrew, I want you to know that I remembered the last time you were in that very passage. And I don't know if I should be like, whew, got away with that one, or if I should be like, what the heck, people?
Look, here's the deal. How many times do you re-watch something or
billion.
re-listen to something?
A billion.
How many times do we reread the same passages of
A
Scripture?
lot.
Why would that change?
I don't know.
Christmas is coming.
But you know
we're
it feels.
going through this
But
every
you
year.
know it feels like cheating.
Oh, of course it does. Of course it does.
But
Any
again,
time that I'm in a text,
City
I'm like, wait, I
Lights.
preached
A couple
this
weeks
before.
ago, you were talking about the 3-year liturgy, and
That's true.
Man,
That's true.
maybe that's the way I need to look at it. There are some passages that need to be taught on every 24 months or something.
Like I've debated coming up with just a glorious Christmas series and letting our people know, hey, I'm preaching a version of this every year till I die.
Until
Like
I
will
am dead.
tweak it. It'll be a little different, but we all want the Christmas story
know.
every year. Last year, I was like, we're going to go through Philippians, which was fine. It was fun, but it wasn't Christmas.
I know.
I like masked it with Christmas graphics, but we were going through Philippians. You know?
Yeah.
So this year, we're going right into Luke 1 and Luke 2.
I love it.
We'll have some fun with it.
I'm a big fan.
But I thought, what if I put in the work now, like a lot of work,
Yeah.
make it awesome, and then would our people be opposed to, look, every Christmas season, invite your family, we're going to be in Luke 1 and Luke 2.
How many Christmas series could you get away with on a rotation? Do you think
I've thought that.
Do you
Yeah.
think it is that if I have three
If I did
Christmas
three.
series?
Yeah, if I did three, I think so.
Then there would never be. It's the stories that get you. No
Correct.
one cares about hearing the same scripture.
No,
They
I
don't
cannot
want-
use the same illustration.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Application's fine.
Yeah, but you need it to open differently.
City Lights Church says do it. It has 4 verses you can preach from: Old Testament, Psalms, Gospel, New Testament. You could go straight liturgical. I'm not opposed.
I'm ready.
I could try it. Okay, seriously, I think 3 legitimate Christmas series, and we could rotate from those 3.
And 3 Easter series.
But here's the best part: I do 3, you do 3. That's a total of 6.
Then we have 6.
We tell our elders, hey, we're sister churches. We're partnering in this together. We get 1 more church involved. That's 9. We never write another Christmas series
And except for the
again.
fact that the way that churches and church people work is every 3
Wait,
years.
Andrew preached that last year.
Yeah, exactly. Our membership would just rotate to each other's churches, and they
True story, that
very
happens.
confused. Oh, it does. It does.
I was talking to an old Lakeview member at the golf tournament on Saturday, and I was like, hey, where are you at these days? And he's like, oh, I'm up at Sunrise at Adam Powers. I'm like, that is
There you
where
go.
you should be.
That is
I
one of our buddies.
I love that.
Awesome.
How long you been there? About 4 years. I'm like, I had no idea, and I love it.
There you go.
We'll see you in 3 years.
Timmy, I don't know. You saw when you pulled up, there was some work getting done.
I saw nice ladders.
I'm glad it's not noisy anymore, because when I was like sending you, ooh, here's what we should be talking about, there was some noise happening. We just had a roof project finished, and then we have a painting project that's about to happen, and that's going to be
Exterior?
whole exterior. That's not true. The back wall where the
can't wait.
preschool is, there's a mural back there, so the mural will not be painted over. But other
Steph
than
is
that,
so excited.
it
Stephanie
is
so.
Listen, Stephanie had an opinion on
She's
which color we should be
very-
painting the church. Yeah, that's what we're going
Steph's
with.
opinion won. There you go.
It's about the color of this mat right here on my desk.
It's gonna be pretty.
And,
This when I think Safety Harbor Community Church, I think this color.
There you go. So, did you see on the paint samples on the wall when you walked up? No. Well,
I will go look.
you can go look.
I wanna
And
look.
We have paint samples on the wall, and I can tell you which ones are going to be the ones. So we
City Lights Church says Advent is fun in a liturgical church because it is not Christmas till Christmas Day. Advent is a lot of end time verses about waiting and longing for Jesus. I get that.
That's wonderful.
I get that. It's awesome, but I want Christmas all month long. I'm sorry.
Did you know that the
I
Dove
want
is already playing
Christmas.
Christmas music?
The Catholic
No,
Christians.
no. WDUV.
Spirit. That's the Spirit.
That's Spirit.
Spirit.
I understand how you would confuse the two, but Timmy, I like to listen to Delilah on my way home from Disney World.
Got it.
It's what I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I like love songs after work when I'm on the interstate.
We're Christians, so we listen to the Joy FM. That's fine.
And when you're coming from Disney World, you don't quite get 105.5 until you're a few miles into I-4. And so don't worry, I have Delilah on iHeartRadio. So I'm driving back Friday night. Friday, I just had me and Liam, my second born. I had owed him a one-on-one day for about 2 years. We were on our way for a one-on-one day when Mom called and said, hey, you should probably come home because I have COVID. So this was summer of 2022. And I have not made it, just schedules didn't work. He was starting middle school, all this stuff. So we skipped school. We did Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. We went to the new barbecue restaurant in Toy Story Land.
Oh, yeah.
It was very exciting. And so on the way home, I've got Delilah through the iHeartRadio app. And then I'm getting to about Lakeland, and I'm like, oh, I can go to the radio and not have the weird streaming commercials now. And I switched to the radio, and it's all Christmas music.
Look at that.
It was November 1st.
Now, Andrew, isn't Delilah a big part of you and Melissa's story?
No.
Isn't that how you met?
No.
I feel like you called, and no, it was your
No.
son that called in.
No,
It was like, my
that's-
dad's looking for a wife.
No, that's a different story.
Sleepless in Tampa.
No,
Is that
that's
not
a
how that
different
goes?
story.
I thought that's how that goes.
That is a different story.
Is that not
I
accurate?
didn't have any kids yet. Melissa was 12 when we started dating. So I don't know how
What
that
am I
would work.
thinking of? Why is that like it's? I feel like you looked
It's-
remarkably
and
like Tom
also,
Hanks.
it wasn't so much Delilah as much as it was like a radio psychology call-in show. It was a psychologist. I don't think there was any music in that. It was pure.
I will never
early
watch
90s
Sleepless in Seattle
talk
the
radio.
same. I'm just gonna imagine
Okay.
you. That's Andrew's son calling in. That's how he
Here's
and
the
Melissa
thing.
met.
I realize that Sleepless in Seattle is the superior movie, but I still prever You've Got Mail.
No, you don't.
I do. I think it's the books.
Why?
It's the bookstore element. I like
I
bookstores.
like that.
I like
That's
Fox Books.
fine.
FOX. That's what it is. I think
I saw it in theaters.
I recognize Sleepless in Seattle, better film.
It is.
I prefer, and it's autumn in New York. There's all the wonderful things. The daisies, the friendliest flower. I prefer Sleepless. I'm sorry. I prefer You've Got Mail to Sleepless in Seattle, and I said
That's
it.
fine.
But Timmy,
fine.
so we've got all these projects happening,
A lot of things happening.
and it's great. But it's really hard to get work done when there's ladders everywhere.
And you're here, so there's
And
if there's any questions.
And so they come
or-
like, hey, let's just go ask
Yep.
Andrew. And then there's people like walking on the ceiling right above your head.
Uh-huh.
There's that. And then there's an election. And so there's going to be.
tomorrow?
That's tomorrow, yeah. There's going to be no parking anywhere. And
You guys are a polling site.
we are a polling site for
Lakeview
the
is also
city
a
of
polling
Safety
site.
Harbor.
Unfortunately, you didn't renegotiate the deal, so we're getting a whole lot
You
more
are
money
getting
than
a
you
whole
are.
lot more money. Although the guy who's like our precinct captain or whatever the title is, he called me on Friday just to check on stuff. He's like, I just want you to know, I laughed so hard because in August we had one of the primaries,
Yeah.
and the election workers were upset about something with the preschool taking parking spots or something. And I said, listen, you guys are paying us like $100. They contribute almost a third of our budget. If I have to inconvenience you or inconvenience them, I'm going to inconvenience you every time.
Just glad you were bold enough
And
to
he was
say
already fed up with them, the volunteers.
perfect.
And so he said, that was the best part of my whole day. So we'll take it.
All right. Brienne says she's locked in. You've got mail.
There you go.
Look at that. You've got
Also,
mail.
there's the 90s nostalgia.
There's
of-
90s nostalgia. You get AOL.
Yes,
you get-
again,
I get it. Again,
also,
I saw it in theaters
there's
with my
no
mom. I get
Rosie
it.
O'Donnell trying to play a straight person, so there's that.
Wow.
That makes Sleepless in Seattle a little bit hard to deal with. But I feel like I would be the person that Meg Ryan would break up with, just in general. I like ties. Sometimes I get a cold.
CJ says You've Got
I need a
Mail is
dehumidifier.
actually an adaptation
I
of
know.
The Shop from Around the Corner,
Yeah.
1949.
Oh, I'm aware.
CJ coming in with that,
I
that
am
sweet
aware.
movie trivia. Thanks
Which
for
is
that.
why the name of Meg Ryan's bookstore is The Little Shop, Around the Corner. Yeah.
That's a fact I didn't know, guys.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Did not know that. Did not know that.
Stephanie Miller is appalled and offended at Tim's lack of film knowledge.
Steph still goes Sleepless in Seattle.
But here's the thing. There's one thing I would love to quote from Sleepless in Seattle, but I'm afraid that it would
Might not be
change
appropriate.
the rating of our show.
Might not be appropriate.
And so if you hit the mute button, Timmy, usually the ATEM is over here, so
Well, I can also hit mute here.
Okay. My dad's with a hoe.
I've unmuted. I thought you were done. I unmuted that part.
There's also a quote about tiramisu that lives in my head rent-free all the time.
You literally said it and you paused, so I was like, okay, he's done. I'm gonna
There's a
unmute.
pause in the quote.
Oh, now I'm gonna get dinged
Wow.
from Facebook.
Now when I upload this to Spotify, I'm going to have to put the yes.
he was talking about the gardening tool.
I was not. And she does laugh horribly. Like Noah's right
This is a
about
disaster.
all of it.
Our elders are probably watching. We're done. There's
Yep.
going to be a follow-up meeting to the meeting.
I mean, it could be worse. There
might get an email.
There are worse things that they could find us doing, but we have. Listen, get in close, elders. I've seen a PG-13 romantic comedy. It might even be PG, actually.
It's
don't know.
got to be PG-13.
There's some moments in there. I don't know, but I've seen them both. I've seen them both.
CJ says, "Lady in the Streets."
That's
Dot. That's all you need to know. That's all you know. Bree is still apparently laughing at that one.
Okay.
She'll be laughing all the way to staff meeting on Wednesday. City Lights Church says, speaking of elections, we had to cancel church. Interesting.
I thought you had to cancel the election because you're in Pennsylvania and you just decide things already.
They had to cancel church yesterday because
Really?
John Legend was campaigning for a certain candidate, and we couldn't use the parking lot by our building. Huh. They couldn't use the parking lot. Did you guys have to go online, or what did you do? Like, you actually canceled church.
But have you seen the commercials where he talks about keeping his voice so smooth with honey and
City
keeping
Lights
himself
Church.
healthy by all of the different vaccines that he's taking?
If you're looking for a great church that doesn't mind canceling services every now and then,
Hey, if John Legend's in town, what are you supposed to do? Have church?
City Lights, you should have made it work. I don't know. You want us to keep promoting this church?
Why
You're
would-
gonna have to actually have.
You're
church.
gonna
What
have
if
to
someone
gather.
shows up
What
and
if
they're
someone's
at
like,
a John Legend rally?
I was coming to Scranton to visit this church, and instead, I just got John Legend.
You let John Legend in their building? Is that what happened? So the John Legend
was
rally
playing at the church.
was in City Lights Church. That's the story I just heard.
There goes their tax exempt status right there.
Jeff says just tuned in, first time, long time. Too bad it will be the last time for this podcast. Farming tools.
Sorry, Jeff.
We're getting
sorry.
morning after ministry T-shirts made up, hats made up. It's just going to say farming tools.
Farming tools.
That's all it's going to say. CJ says, was John promised to perform and then he only spoke for 5 minutes?
That was a Beyonce reference.
This CJ is on fire today.
It's been a good day for him. It's been a good day
Must
for
have
him.
been a good weekend. Sorry about your daughter, but everything else seems to be
Other
going
than
well.
that, things are coming up. All things CJ.
Proud of you.
Timmy, I got nothing else. I got nothing else in the tank.
Hey, by this time next week, we may or may not know who the next president of the United States is going to be.
And by this time tomorrow, the stupid ads will be done. That'll be a win in and of itself.
Some of them are funny.
They are, but also
I don't know if they're intentionally
the
funny.
fact that they're funny is very, very sad. I'm just ready for it to be over.
I think we all are.
I'm good. I am good. And as I will tell anybody and everyone who will listen, if God could work through Pharaoh or Nebuchadnezzar, I think we're going to be good either way.
How about Artaxerxes?
It's a great name. Also, isn't that the name of the owl in Disney's Sword in the Stone?
Mm-hmm. No.
Who's Artaxerxes in that?
It's not the owl. Artaxerxes is in Sword in the Stone.
Artemis.
Artemis? Artie. They call him Artie, right?
Okay. Listen, we've got another topic to talk about on the show. We're definitely not stalling, so Stephanie can look this up.
No, we've got the Steph
Tim-
cam going right now. She is researching right now.
She is
Archimedes.
Okay.
Archimedes.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
If God can work through Archimedes,
I don't think that's
is that
the
what we're
same
saying?
thing. I don't think he was an emperor or a king. I think he was a mathematician.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, we have gone off the rails. We miss you. We will see you same time, same place next week.
Same bet time. I think won't our good buddy Frankie be here?
That was going to be a surprise. Spoiler alert.
I got a question.
He's driving right now. He's in Nashville.
Can we just start calling him Francis?
I mean,
So if
he's practically he's going to be the Pope of Lakeview.
well, I just meant because Frank is a nickname for Francis,
True.
and I know his legal first name is Frank, but it'd be funnier if it was Francis.
When we have the banner underneath that'll look similar to that, it will say Francis Gill.
Okay. We just shouldn't tell him though.
No,
It does sound like a Christian singer.
I'd go see him.
Yeah, I could see it happening.
All right, we miss you. See you soon.
He's gonna deconstruct, not Francis. Francis Gill is gonna deconstruct and then have one secular kind of hit. It'll be on Delilah. I can assure you of that.
We're out of here. We've got to turn these microphones off before Andrew starts talking about more
Before I break
farming
things.
tools. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.